Good morning. So I had an interesting thing happen today with the random word generator. I guess I've done all of the random words. So I switched it, and instead of it being a word, it was a phrase. I'm gonna try it out, see how it works. And the first phrase that came up is "jig is up." Never heard it before. I'm right next to an animal shelter. But the jig is up is setting up a trick or setting something up with the intent to have it be discovered or to be caught. Jig is up. Okay? I'm wondering if the jig is up is in a way part of what's called a Kansas City shuffle. A confidence man will have a bag of tricks, ways to distract the crowd, or hypnotize them, or charismatically influence them in such a way where, in the act of a Kansas City shuffle, he gets everyone to look left while he goes right. And a jig is up, you could say, is something like he sets something up to be caught or to have it be discovered with the intent of distracting people so that he can go the other direction and achieve what he or she wanted to achieve. And I'm assuming that it has a negative connotation. Jig is up. You set something up to be discovered or created. But I also think that there's probably like a very fun, novel, and playful intent behind it as well. Kind of like, you could say that like, I've got kids, so maybe I'm not going to use any of the examples around holidays where things can be discovered or caught. But I think about it as, how is it that I could set up jigs in a way where they are caught and act as like little nuggets or treasures of surprises to better one's day. And so if there was one thing that I could get from the phrase "jig is up," it would be, how could I do little acts of kindness for others in such a way where the credit doesn't come back to me, but that they are discovered, they are caught in such a way that it's a pattern interrupt, and it breaks up the person's monotonous routines and helps them to become immediately present and focused on the thing, and kind of like jolts them into a, oh my gosh, this was so kind. Oh my gosh, that's so nice. And I can't believe someone would do that. And I have a great example. A great example would be, when I was a kid, as a teenager, I would serve at my parents' restaurant. I would wait tables, and we'd each have different sections within the restaurant. And our sections would determine like basically the only few tables that we had throughout the night. Anyone that were sitting at those tables, it was our job to make sure that we served them and provide them like a level of hospitality that would be memorable. And my parents' kind of slogan was, how do we delight customers in a way that creates loyalty? And if you could use that as kind of a open-ended self-prompt, how can I delight my customers within my section in such a way that that creates loyalty? Every single night became fun. It became like a creative adventure where you're thinking, okay, how could I interact and work and serve this table in such a way not to get like a massive fat tip, although oftentimes that was the indirect benefit that came from setting up jigs in your interaction and in your relationship, or in the interaction with them throughout the night, really prompted or pushed by this, how can I delight my customers in such a way that it drives loyalty? And we had a relationship with Coca-Cola. And you'll see this at a lot of different restaurants. Restaurants either have Coca-Cola or they got Pepsi products. And rarely do you have a restaurant or some kind of food service that has both. But we had Coke. That means we didn't have Pepsi products. So when I would go to a table would, we'd ask them what their drinks, what kind of drinks they would like. And I'd always get, it seemed like it was always ladies, but ladies would reach out and they say like, hey, I would love a Diet Pepsi. And my response always to that was like, oh, we've got Coke products. Is Diet Coke okay? And it was almost always that women who love Diet Pepsi were like, no, I'm good. And they'd oftentimes get like a water or something else. But oftentimes it was like, I wanted something, you guys can't provide it. All right, sounds good, I'll get this. And every single time I heard, I would love a Diet Pepsi, can I get you another product? And them saying, no. I would immediately go, okay, I'm gonna go get all these people their drinks. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to run across the block to the local 7-Eleven. And I'm going to buy them a 16-ounce Diet Pepsi. And I am going to run back to the restaurant. So I would use my own money and I would buy this Diet Pepsi from the 7-Eleven. I would run back to the restaurant and then I would fill them up like a glass of ice and then bring to the table this glass of ice and this Diet Pepsi. And the whole idea was like, oh, good. How can I like break this pattern, setting something up to be caught or noticed, but in such a way that delights them, in a way that might create loyalty later. And so I would get back to the table and I'd say, okay, here's your Dr. Pepper and here's your Mountain Dew and here's your raspberry lemonade. And then also I know that you asked for a water. So I grabbed your water, but also I ran over to 7-Eleven real quick and I got you a Diet Pepsi because I hate going to restaurants knowing I want something very specific and I end up not being able to get it. So here's a glass of ice and here's a Diet Pepsi. I really hope that like this like will make up for not having it, for da-da-da-da. And I would love it because then it was the jig is up. And I would step back and I'd go, okay, how's this gonna go? And every time they would be like, you did that? Oh my gosh, you went over to and got me a Diet Pepsi? Like, wow. What service? This is so great. And it made my interaction with them for the rest of the hour that they're at the restaurant so magical, because it was like if the restaurant got slammed and food was taking forever, it's okay. That guy got me a Diet Pepsi. And it was okay, we've got this, but shoot, we're out of this. Doesn't matter. This guy got me a Diet Pepsi. And it was in the doing of that thing that really helped me to really connect with customers and provide them a kind of experience that even if they didn't ever come back, it was a business trip and they just happened to be here or happened to be here on holiday and they don't live around here, that kind of experience is memorable and something that in the setting up of the jig, once it was caught or discovered, it created such a impactful impression that they recall it, retell it years later. And sometimes, if they lived nearby, it would drive loyalty. And so if you can look at this phrase, jig is up, which I've never used before, and I've honestly never heard before, as a way to delight people and to create pattern interrupts, but do so in a way that makes it memorable and positive and injects a layer of positivity and joy in people's lives. It might be a core memory that they hold and cherish the rest of their life. And it was something as simple and oftentimes as forgetful for the person doing it as getting a lady a Diet Pepsi when she wanted one and there was none available. So that is my random word phrase generated today. Jig is up. Ooh, little trail. Here we go. Da-da-da. So beautiful. Jig is up.